Welcome to the T-Bird Zone, streamed every week on SUTBirds.com and SUUnews.com. I'm Kyle Cottom, and we're in studio today with head football coach Ed Lamb, recapping the great victory over the Weber State Wildcats. Coach, that game 35-28. The team was down 14-3 at half. Really, the story of the game: Austin Menifee racks up almost 300 yards of all-purpose yards, 88 yards on the ground, 86 yards pass receptions, 112 yards kick returns. Wins conference and national offensive player of the week honors. Talk about his performance there in Ogden.
Well, we've become used to him being a triple threat: special teams with the kick return and receiving the ball out of the backfield and running the ball out of the backfield. And I think he played exceptionally well in all of those areas. And of course, all three of them together was the final product: 286 all-purpose yards. It's an amazing game. But probably the difference that he made biggest in the game was obviously in the last part of the first half. We went from having a 3-point lead, and then 5 minutes later we go into halftime with down 14-3, and we came out that second half, and he took the opening kickoff of the second half and brought it out near midfield. It gave us something to cheer about, something to get excited about, and really rallied the team. And then late in the game, when we were expecting Weber State to kick an onside kick, we had 10 guys up near the line of scrimmage, and Austin was back by himself. Normally, if a team kicks it deep against you in that situation, you don't expect to have much of a return. But instead of being pinned deep in our own territory, in a position where we had to run out the clock and possibly punt and give them good field position, he brought it almost out to midfield again with almost no blocking. And we were able to sit on the ball, run the clock, and those two returns were just huge in the game. Listening to some of the game on the radio, it seemed that Weber State began to kick away from Austin. Was that the case after that second half return, or? Yes. Was it? All right. The other question I have with Austin, that you talked about at the coaches' luncheon held every Monday at President Benson's house, about Brad Sorensen stepping up in the pocket. And Austin was the leading receiver, had the most receptions and yards. Were those routes by design, or was he staying back to block and then releasing, or was it just Brad just stepping up, being able to find Austin as he was? Seemed like it was all three of those. Yeah, all three of those. We had what's called a check down, where the quarterback would be reading further down the field for some open receivers, and then the backs, after they take care of pass protection, will leak through the line of scrimmage and look to be an outlet, a late outlet for the quarterback. And if the quarterback is stepping up through his progressions, then he sees that check down much better, and it also helps the pass protection. And so Brad has done a wonderful job of improving in that area. And it's hard for a guy to be humble and improve when you've been playing as well as Brad has. So I commend him for doing that. And then we also had several plays called for Austin where we knew he would be matched up on a linebacker, and we liked that matchup.
Defensively, the front seven for Southern Utah had a great game. Talk about their performance on the field.
Well, it's always starts up front with our linemen, and Cody Larson is just a bully in there in the middle, and we played him at some defensive end. He was key to stopping Weber's kind of signature play, which most people call a power play, and Cody was excellent on that. But then Tyler Osborne had a monster game, as he always does. 2 sacks, a fumble caused, a fumble recovered, returned his own the fumble that he caused and recovered, returned it down inside the 5-yard line, and had another tackle for loss. Those guys really make it work for us. And we have some other great players that played well too. Nick Witzman, Jeff Tukuwafu, Cody Heinrich got in there late and put some pressure on the quarterback on the interception, and also late in the game to seal it. And then our linebackers are very solid with Chad Hansen and Blake Finn and Herman Sword.
You talked about in that victory over UNLV earlier in the year how that will impact recruiting. Beating now Weber State, that in-state opponent, how have you seen that already affecting the recruiting battle in-state?
Well, none really yet. I mean, most of our recruiting, and I would guess Weber State's too, is most of the guys that we actually want to have on our team, at this point in the year, they're still kind of holding out hope that they're going to go to the Pac-12 or the Mountain West Conference, and so it's not as if we beat Weber State and our phone's ringing off the hook. Right. We're developing long-term relationships with a lot of different prospects right now, and I think that in the end, if it does come down to a decision between Weber State and Southern Utah, then perhaps their mind will be a little bit more open to taking a look at us and making sure they visit us and look at all of their options.
Do you see this victory maybe clearing up the picture? You've talked in the past of chatting with some high school coaches.
Sabotage.
I know we're falling apart.
I think it's Weber State.
It could be.
Yeah.
You've talked about how in-state coaches sometimes struggle thinking or wondering where Southern Utah is on the pecking order in the state.
Right.
Do you see this victory help clearing that position up?
Most definitely. We have a large contingent of high school coaches in this state who are SUU grads, and there's been some misconceptions. I mean, when I first took the job, I bumped into several high school coaches that were SUU grads that didn't know we were playing Division I football, and SUU hasn't been playing Division I football as long as Weber State, so the misconception, I guess, was warranted. But I think that over the last few years, that's definitely been addressed anyway, and this will only help.
The really last question, with Weber now in the conference next year, well, with us coming into the Big Sky Conference next year, Weber State will be one of those great in-state rivalry-type games. Do you see this game, maybe as to the fan base side, that if the season's a complete wash, beating Weber State, that makes the season?
Oh, man. Yeah. Well, I would be disappointed in our team if we looked at it that way, and I guess I'd feel the same way about the fans. I think Southern Utah is it's an easy place to recruit to. We have an amazing academic reputation that's rising all the time, an amazing student experience, and so to set our goal at beating Weber State, I think it sells our university short and definitely sells our football program short.
Okay. Excellent. Thanks as always for coming in. Recapping that game again, that was 35-28, that final score. And join us again for our next segment when we're previewing the game of UC Davis this Saturday.